Dawn breaks with the thunder of jet engines over the Baltic Sea. NATO fighters scramble, not for training, but to intercept a Russian spy plane flying dark. This is no isolated event. It's the latest in a string of provocations pushing Europe to its highest alert in decades. Tensions are boiling over, the line between peace and conflict razor thin. Along NATO's eastern flank, from the Arctic to the Black Sea, two military giants face off, every move under a microscope. Airspace violations aren't just posturing, they're calculated tests of NATO's resolve. It's a high-stakes game with millions of lives in the balance. The question is no longer if a mistake will happen, but when. In command centers across the West, leaders review contingency plans as Moscow's rhetoric grows harsher and military drills intensify. The drumbeat of escalation is relentless. Is this psychological warfare or the first steps toward a conflict that could engulf the continent? We take you to the front lines of this unnerving standoff, from Baltic skies to the corridors of power. This isn't a distant problem. The tremors are shaking global markets and the fragile post-Cold War order. The stakes have never been higher. The world is asking, are we on the brink of war? The answer remains uncertain, locked in a tense standoff above the cold, dark sea. Stay with us as we unravel the crisis. To grasp today's crisis, look to Ukraine, a war that shattered Europe's security assumptions. The invasion was a wake-up call, morphing into a grinding conflict that's drained resources and hardened resolve. Russia's actions signaled its willingness to redraw borders by force, upending decades of stability. Now, as the front lines in Ukraine stall, Moscow's gaze shifts to NATO's borders. Russia is probing for weaknesses, testing the alliance's unity and readiness. The conflict's shadow stretches across the entire eastern flank. The next flashpoint could be NATO territory. This is a strategic pivot, escalating tensions to force the West's hand and create a new crisis. NATO has responded with unprecedented troop deployments, creating a heavily militarized, volatile border. Military exercises and close encounters have become routine, turning the region into a powder keg. The lesson from Ukraine is clear: underestimation is dangerous and unity is essential. NATO knows that showing strength now is the only way to deter further aggression. The shadow of Ukraine looms large, casting doubt and fear over Europe's future. The stakes for European security have never been higher. The skies above the Baltic and Black Seas are now arenas of high-stakes aerial brinkmanship. Russian bombers and fighters, often flying dark, skirt or breach NATO airspace, deliberate provocations, not accidents. NATO's quick reaction alert jets scramble almost daily from bases in Estonia, Lithuania and Romania. Intercepts or tense pilots fly meters apart, every gesture loaded with risk. A single miscalculation could trigger disaster, a collision, a shoot-down, a rapid spiral into conflict. These flights aren't random, they coincide with NATO exercises and summits, sending pointed messages. Russia tests response times, gathers intelligence, and flexes its military muscle. For NATO pilots, it's a nerve-wracking duty. They are the tripwire between peace and war. The sheer frequency of these incidents is alarming. What was once rare is now routine. Normalizing such high-risk encounters breeds complacency and increases the chance of catastrophe. In today's climate of distrust, there are few channels to de-escalate if something goes wrong. The sky has become a contested frontier, where the risk of war is ever present. Every flight is a gamble with global consequences. The margin for error is vanishingly small. The world watches, hoping restraint prevails, but the danger is real and growing. The UK has emerged as a leading voice in this crisis, warning of unprecedented danger. Britain's condemnation of Russian airspace violations is matched by Action RAF Typhoons, lead NATO's Baltic air policing, and over 1,000 British troops are stationed in Estonia. This is no token force, it's a combat-ready deterrent, a tripwire for NATO's collective defense. The deployment reassures Baltic allies and sends Moscow a clear message. Aggression here means conflict with the entire alliance. Britain's stance is unambiguous. The era of ambiguity is over. The defense of NATO's eastern flank is non-negotiable. London is drawing a line in the sand, signaling that any incursion will have immediate, severe consequences. The stakes are existential for NATO's credibility. The UK stands ready to uphold its commitments no matter the cost. The message to Russia: the alliance will not bend. The world is watching Britain's resolve. The Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, are small but strategically vital, sitting on the fault line between Russia and Europe. Their history of occupation makes the threat from the east deeply personal. The region's Achilles heel is the Suwalki Gap, a narrow corridor vulnerable to being cut off in a crisis. If Russia seized it, the Baltics could be isolated from NATO reinforcements. This vulnerability makes the region the ultimate test of NATO's Article 5 commitment. Moscow's provocations, airspace violations, cyber attacks, disinformation, probe for cracks in alliance unity. For NATO, defending the Baltics is about existential credibility. Failure would shatter the alliance's foundation. That's why multinational battle groups and air policing are in place. The Baltics are the tripwire. If they fall, so does the security of all NATO. Their fate is Europe's fate. Today's crisis echoes the Cold War, but with a dangerous twist. Trust and communication have collapsed. The treaties and hotlines that once kept rivals talking are gone. Military channels are silent. Without dialogue, misunderstandings can spiral into disaster. The threat is more ambiguous now. Cyber attacks, disinformation, and non-state actors muddy the waters. Both sides view each other through a lens of deep suspicion. NATO sees Russia as an aggressive revisionist power. Russia sees NATO as an encircling threat. Every exercise is seen as a rehearsal for invasion, every statement as a provocation. The safety nets of the past are gone. Animosity and mistrust define the relationship. The risk of miscalculation is higher than ever. The world is left with Cold War tension, without Cold War safeguards. The stakes are global, and the margin for error is razor thin. We are in uncharted, perilous territory. In this hyper-tense environment, the greatest danger is miscalculation. A single error, a collision, a stray missile, could trigger a direct NATO-Russia confrontation. In the past, diplomacy could diffuse such incidents. Now, every mistake risks escalation. For Russia, keeping NATO on edge is psychological warfare, projecting strength and sowing division. For NATO, the challenge is to deter aggression without provoking it. Every response must be carefully calibrated. Too weak invites risk, too strong risks escalation. The standoff's impact is global, markets are volatile, energy prices spike, and resources are diverted from other crises. The world economy feels the tremors, from gas pumps to grocery stores. Security everywhere is threatened by this confrontation. The cost of a misstep is incalculable. The pressure on leaders is immense. The world holds its breath, hoping for restraint. The next move could change everything. The stakes are nothing less than global stability. The future is perilous and uncertain. Expect more troops, more weapons, and more military exercises on both sides. Each deployment increases the risk of an accidental clash. If a direct incident occurs, the pressure to respond could spiral into all-out war. NATO's Article 5 could be triggered, pitting the alliance against Russia. An unthinkable scenario. Is there a diplomatic off-ramp? For now, prospects are dim, but diplomacy is never truly dead. Emergency talks or third-party mediation could offer a path back. The next moves will be decided in Moscow, Washington, and Brussels. Will leaders choose escalation or restraint? The world is watching, hoping for wisdom over pride. Are we witnessing a dangerous game of military signaling, or the final moves before catastrophe? The erosion of trust means every action is seen as a threat, every exercise as a rehearsal for war. Leaders on both sides are trapped in a security dilemma. Each step to increase safety fuels the other's fears. History warns how such spirals can lead to unintended war. Today's leaders must learn from the past and pull the world back from the brink. The stakes are no longer just territory. They're about global order and survival. What do you think? Is this necessary deterrence or reckless provocation? Let us know your thoughts.